Okay, I'm going to have to drag some things over onto the other screen. Oh, that's PowerPoint. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so first thing that I want to show you is how to work with gradients. So we'll just create a new canvas here. Now I know you guys are not Photoshop people, and I'm anticipating that, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing. So I'm creating a new canvas. We'll make sure that this is, okay, we're zoomed in at 100% on here. So I wanted to show you an interesting technique with gradients. If you ever noticed, it's hard to make a nice looking gradient, right? Choosing, you choose 3 or 4, maybe just 2 colors. Choosing that gradient can be difficult, getting the colors right. So I want to show you a shortcut for doing that very quickly and easily. Is this showing up for you? Okay, good. So, man, I'm sorry. I can barely find my mouse here. There we go. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is turn auto select on and say we just want to select that layer. So now I've selected this object. Photoshop keeps things in vector form for you until you ask it not to. So that's a vector. I can right click on this and go into what are called blending options. Blending options are just a way that you can apply effects like drop shadows and things like that to something. One of the things that you can do in here is this is how you create a gradient in Photoshop, or one of the common ways. So you can say create a gradient right here, and you can see now that it's created that gradient for me, right? That is all you need to, one other thing that you need to do. Click on right here, and have you guys heard of blend modes? Blend modes are this idea that you can say this is how one layer is going to interact with the other layer. Change the math. We have one blend mode in Silverlight and WPF, and that blend mode is an opacity blend mode. We just say that we'll modulate the opacity, combine those values that way. Photoshop and some other tools allow you to choose that. So I'm going to choose one right here. We'll just call, actually, let's choose linear burn. Now that is the magic step, by the way. You'll notice that gradient went away when I did that. And the reason for that is we had a gradient that goes from white to black. When you apply that gradient with a linear burn, you lose the regular opacity. It goes black. But I'll show you if we double click on this and change the color to something like this. Now you'll notice that we're creating this really nice gradient on top of this. And you'll notice that now I'm only changing one color, and I'm able to get that very nice looking gradient. But the gradient is still just basically that one color to black, right? Although it's a lot more subtle, like it's different. It's different than the kind of gradient that you might just get otherwise. So now if we come back in here, I'll show you how these different blend modes work. I could choose multiply. That's kind of your more traditional, one. A really cool one, though, is this, color burn. And if I scale this down a little bit, you'll see that it's actually, instead of going to black, it's going to kind of a darker green. And they have formulated these gradients in such a way that they tend to produce very natural looking colors and light combinations, okay? So that's the first thing. If you want to choose colors for a gradient, it's cool, too, because now I can come back in here and I can very easily say we decide not to go with that aqua green. We want to go with like an orange. So now I go there, and now I've got this really cool looking gradient, right? Very cool technique, something I do all the time. This is how, if I want to produce a nice looking gradient, this is what I do. Is that interesting to you guys? Yeah? I don't know. I'm like looking at some blank faces. I don't know if this is the right crowd for that. Yeah? Okay, I'll show you. The other ones are fast too. I'll show you the rest of these. Next one is I just wanted to show you 3 kinds of drop shadows. So drop shadows are a really powerful tool that you have in a design for creating layers. A lot of times we don't really know what to do with a drop shadow, and we don't know really how to interact with one. So I wanted to show you 3 styles of drop shadows that you can use and how to use them. Okay, so again, this is a blend mode. Now, this blend mode maps pretty well to the effects that we have in WPF and Silverlight, and we're kind of tweaking the same things. So we probably could even do this in blend, but since we're in Photoshop, we'll stick with it. So I'm choosing the drop shadow now, which you can see apply to drop shadow. I'll try to manage that a little bit. So I've got kind of the same tweaks that I have right here. So distance would be the same as shadow depth on the effect. So if you're setting the property on the effect in WPF or Silverlight, it's called shadow depth. And then size would be the same as blur radius. So the first drop shadow that you have is this one right here where I'm going to collapse the distance, right? And this is like a head-on drop shadow. And this is one that you can use to clarify lines. Now, it's actually having the opposite effect right here, because we don't really need to clarify those lines. We already had really great contrast between those two things. But if we were to make this a really light color, something like that. Now you can see how that drop shadow is subtle, but it's allowing us to clarify the boundaries. Here, we've got to find the right one, and you'll have to tweak these, but you find the right one. And what we've done there is by dropping that distance all the way down to 0, we're saying this is right up against the thing where it's casting a shadow, right? So it casts it kind of evenly all the way around, and we're saying that the light source is head on. Okay, so another drop shadow that you might like is this one. This is the drop shadow. Here, let's do this. We can crank up the size, and then we move this drop shadow way over here, and then we pull down the opacity. And when we do that, we create something that feels like it is jumping out at you. It's popping out of the page. Okay, that's the second technique. And then the last drop shadow requires a little bit more work, and this is the drop shadow that I used in the books application. So let's clear that drop shadow that we had. We'll clear all the effects on it, actually. We're going to copy this element, and I'm just going to drag it over and copy it. Okay, and then we'll make this one that's behind be black. I'm going to apply the blur directly to this by choosing a filter, setting a blur. Oh, it's coming up over here. Okay. Oh, I didn't blur it enough, though. Let's do it again. Apply a blur to that one more time. We'll blur it up to about 4 or 5, something like that. Okay, and then for this one, all we do is we scoot it back over there. Make sure I have my transform controls on this. And then I'm going to drag this guy and do this. Move him right under like that. Kind of tweak him around so he's in the right place. This is the drop shadow that we used for books.show, and then we can tweak the opacity on that a little bit. This is something that feels a lot more natural. Feels like it's kind of coming off the page on that one side. Okay, we're done in Photoshop, guys. I hope that was interesting. I don't know. It's kind of a risk showing that one this crowd. I don't really know who's here. It's probably either designers who know that or developers who may not care. So kind of risky. Sorry. Okay, so those are 2 techniques. I'm going to move along. There was a third technique that I was going to show you, but I'll tell you what, I'll blog about it. Okay, let's get back into the... Okay, real quickly though, I wanted to show you the application of those techniques, because I used every single one of those in this that we just saw in this application that I designed with Seismic. So the first of those, at the very top, you can see those two kind of softer bars at the top. Those both have a very subtle gradient on them that I produced using that technique that I showed you. The other thing I was going to show you is how to manipulate a border to kind of create a 3D border. That's this button down here. I'll blog about that. And then the last thing is that you can see the drop shadow has that very soft drop shadow that makes the dialogue feel like it's popping out at you. So just kind of an application of those techniques. If you want to be a good designer, one of the best things that you can do, I think, is find examples. There's a guy named, I don't know how to say it, it's Abuzito, I think. He's a blogger. He does an awesome job documenting all kinds of cool Photoshop techniques. There's lots of people that do that. Choose your tool. It doesn't have to be Photoshop, but choose a tool and begin to develop techniques. By the way, XAML is a great tool. I'm not just, or XAML or Blend or whatever, but you can do a lot of stuff in XAML. So it's worth knowing that tool as well. Okay, so your third design attack vector is sweat the small stuff. Sorry, I know that's not what you want to hear. I'm not asking you to be stressed about it. But it is important to pay attention to the little things. So I tried to make a list. Honestly, there's not a checklist for this, right? What you want to do is produce a design that feels like it has been manicured, like somebody paid attention. And I can't tell you the list. But I did give you a list of things that I would pay attention to. Maybe a start, like I just sat down and wrote down 15 or whatever things that I think are worth knowing about. So it's alignment, margins, padding, all that kind of stuff. An interesting one, crisp lines. That is a big one. Make sure, do whatever you can to keep your imagery or whatever it is aligned to pixel boundaries and keep those lines crisp. That'll make your design feel manicured. Another one is pay attention to copy and the text casing. Those are 2 other ones that people tend to miss.